so I know what I've got to do. Well, let's do the before lecture chant. And unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Well, thank you all online and here for showing up. That's wonderful. So we're going to be continuing our study of different of the chapters from the Heart of the Buddha's Teaching, and this is by Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's on really a lot of foundational Buddhist teachings, but maybe you never heard of some of them. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm doing chapter 20 today, which is, it's called The Three Bodies of Buddha. And I chose it because I didn't know what the three bodies of Buddha were, or if I should even care. I mean, is this relevant? I had no idea. So I thought, well, I want to learn about this and practice with it. So I have this chapter all marked up. I have read it multiple times. I find that Thich Nhat Hanh's words and explanations are very heart-touching and opening. So I highly recommend that you read this chapter. It's short, and you know it's Thich Nhat Hanh, so it's easy to read. Read it a lot, live with it. That's what I've been doing the last few weeks. I've been living with it and living with this idea of three bodies of Buddha and trying to find, are they helpful? Is it helpful to me to have these concepts in my mind? And I've discovered, yes, it is, but I have had to work with it to really make myself understand these words, to make the meaning my own. So what the three bodies of Buddha are in, I guess it's Sanskrit, probably. I'm not real good on that. That's what I think. The first one is Dharmakaya. Now, all these three bodies end with kaya, because kaya means body. Okay, so that's pretty easy, right? It's Dharmakaya. Well, Dharma we know is teachings, right? So a part of the understanding of it is it's the teaching body of the Buddha. But you can expand that a little bit, which I will do. And then the second body of Buddha, and it's not like they're all separate, they're really interrelated, but they're set as three different ones, so you can contemplate them individually and then feel them as they all meld together as you practice in your life. So the second one is the Sambhogakaya. And I had to work on spelling that, but kaya, body, and Sambhoga means the bliss body. It's the bliss or enjoyment body. That's how Thich Nhat Hanh has it, of the Buddha. And so that's how I've reframed these a little bit for myself, which I'll get to, but that's, Thich Nhat Hanh says, a bliss or the enjoyment body. And then the last one is the Nirmana Kaya. And Kaya is body. Nirmana, well, I don't know what it means, but what it does mean is, I mean, I don't know that word in Sanskrit, but it means Shakyamuni Buddha. His life, his particular life and teaching, that body, his individual teaching body. But here's the thing, all of these bodies of the Buddha are part of our bodies, part of us. And I want to read to you, this is from Thich Nhat Hanh, I think it's very helpful. He says, when he was about to pass away, the Buddha told his disciples, dear friends, my physical body will not be here tomorrow. But my teaching body, the Dharmakaya, will always be with you. Consider it to be the teacher who never leaves you. So, and that's extended to the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. These bodies of the Buddha are, it's sort of, how would you say, it's sort of cosmic transformational, and we all, as Buddhas, because we all actually are Buddhas waking up to be Buddhas, right? We all of this is true for us. But why would you want to split it into 3 bodies? What the heck? Well, I was practicing with that, and so I took the Dharmakaya, and I thought, well, the Dharmakaya, that's seeing as a Buddha sees. That's sort of when I can be in a state of mind where, as best as possible, I can see the world, the universe, as a Buddha sees it. As any, because there's myriad Buddhas, right? And oh gosh, that word, Sambhogakaya, to me, that's like the fruit of practice, the joy Buddha, the joy that we experience sometimes in our lives as we practice, as we settle, as we come back to our body and our breath. And then Nirmanakaya is how do I express the Buddha's awakening, Buddha bodies in our particular lives. It's the expression of an awakening in our particular lives. It's like, so how Marianne lives her life, walks around, what she does, what she says, how interacts with people, how Constance does, how any of us, we in this particular moment are sort of embodiments of the Nirmanakaya, okay? So that's how I see it. How a Buddha sees the world, how the joy that arises, the fruit that arises that we experience, and how I live this in this historical moment, which has its ups and downs, right? So I want to talk a little more about these 3 bodies of the Buddha, trying to bring them as alive as possible. Seriously, I've been just living with and contemplating this, seeing what comes to me, like when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm walking around, whatever, they are present. And in that way, I find it helpful to think of these 3 distinct ones because they're like lighthouses. They're like a lighthouse. Dharmakaya. How does a Buddha see the world? How would a Buddha see right now this situation? So a little more about the Dharmakaya. What does it mean to see and understand the world as a Buddha does? Well, I was wondering that. And I was listening to a talk that Norman Fisher gave a few weeks ago on, guess what? The Avatamsaka Sutra that we're going to be studying soon. In Everyday Zen, they're studying the last chapter, and this was his introductory talk, and I highly recommend it. And he actually said, when you study it, read Wikipedia. It's really good to give you an introduction. And I think he quoted some from it. And he was talking about, in that talk, how a Buddha sees. A Buddha sees the entire universe and world, and it's hard for us to do this, by the way, as a hologram. Everything, like this little moment here, is contained in every piece of dust. It's a hologram, right? Everything's contained in everything. And that little piece of dust is contained in every other piece of dust, and each of us is contained in each one. So we are, the basic thing is that a Buddha sees us as completely interpenetrating no separation, and these, I don't know how, you have to visualize it how you would, but wide, I think, honeycombs of holograms and interacting, everything interacting and alive. That's how a Buddha sees. And I was thinking also of a song, I don't know who wrote it, but it's called something like From a Distance, from a distance. You don't see the boundary lines of the governments, of the countries, and everything that makes us want to clash. From a distance, you just see the watersheds and the mountains and the plains and everything in its dynamic interaction. That's the sense of Dharmakaya. That's the sense of how a Buddha sees. But Norman said in his talk, well, it's kind of impossible for us to maintain that walking around. We have difficulty with that. So Thich Nhat Hanh realizes that too, and he has a way of talking about it that helps, that we can kind of latch onto. So I'm going to read you a little bit here. He says, the Dharmakaya is the embodiment of the Dharma, always shining, always enlightening everything. Anything that can wake us up is a part of the Dharmakaya. So trees, grass, human beings, and so on. When I hear a bird sing, if, big if, I return deeply to myself and breathe, stop, come back, take a breath, breathe, and smile. That bird reveals the Buddha Dharma's body. People who are awake can hear the Dharma being preached in a pebble, a bamboo, or the cry of a baby. Anything can be the voice of the Dharma if you are awake. Every morning, when you open the window and see the light streaming in, know that it too is part of the Dharmakaya. So that, to me, that speaks of relationship. I talked about sort of that hologram, it's abstract a bit, but how we take a breath, we meet the tree, we meet each other, we breathe, we meet this moment. That's what Thich Nhat Hanh's saying, and it's relationship and it's alive. And that's how the Buddha sees the whole world. And so this is alive, it's living. And it's important because we come upon difficult times, right? Like we're in a challenging time right now. Or if you have personal things that are challenging, maybe an interaction with another person, or you feel crabby in the morning, or I don't know, anything, you're grieving, anything, you can still come back, take a breath, feel yourself, feel that Dharmakaya body of interrelationship, interconnection alive in you. Yeah, and then you can see whoever you're crabby with, maybe you still don't agree with them, right? But you also know that you too sometimes are crabby, or if they're crabby or you are, that you can have compassion. But it takes that step back to breathe and feel that Dharmakaya body of the Buddha, seeing as the Buddha sees, that interconnection. And I think of it, by the way, I rewrote my talk a number of times, so I gotta find where I am. It, like right now, in this time we live in a time that's pretty challenging. I have a lot of trouble with our political leaders, many of them. I'm quite upset, I'm frightened, I'm very challenged, angry too. But I can work with this when I come back and stop to return to seeing how a Buddha sees. I can come back and breathe. I can feel my fear, but I can calm it for a moment. And then I know I don't have to condone the actions of these political leaders. In fact, I may have to protest. But at that same time, that doesn't mean that I put them out of my heart. They feel fear too for the world and our civilization, just as I do. I can have compassion for that. So I can keep, this is a phrase from Stephen Levine, I can keep my heart open in hell. That's important. And that's why I think remembering Dharmakaya, how to seeing as a Buddha sees, how do I come back? How do I come back is really important. And I'm going to digress with a story, but I think it'll help. I was just in Indiana visiting with my brother, my older brother, but he and I have a really good time. And my sister-in-law sends us off to go travel around and do stuff in southern Indiana, and we explore things. But sometimes she says before we go, half joking, but I think half seriously, now think when you're about to do something, what would a smart person do in this situation? And then we're out and about, maybe we're about to do some bonehead thing. And we look at each other, we say, what would a smart person do? And then maybe we make a better choice. Well, to me, that's the same. I'm going along and I'm getting wound up. How would a Buddha see this? What would a Buddha do? How does a Buddha see the world, this situation? And that brings me back to sit and breathe. Let me see. Well, you know, the Dharmakaya does include everything. I wanted to read to you real quickly, because I think it's not real quickly, but it's an expression of the Dharmakaya, is Thich Nhat Hanh's poem, which I'm sure you mostly know, Call Me by My True Names, because it doesn't leave anyone or anything out. And we are all of the things. So I'm going to just read it to bring it back to your heart and mind. So breathe and enjoy. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today, I am still arriving. Look deeply. Every second, I am arriving to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am a mayflower metamorphosing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am a frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, and you could substitute to any political thing in here. All skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am also the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands. And I am the man who has to pay his, quote, debt of blood to my people dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion. Well, that sums up somewhat the Dharmakaya way of how seeing as a Buddha sees. So let's shift a minute now and go to Sambhogakaya, which is the joy, the fruit of seeing as a Buddha sees, of connecting, of relationship. So I want to ask you, can you just in your minds, don't raise your hand or say it or anything, but remember some times when you just have felt joy arising. It could be even in the midst of a bad day, but somehow, or a beautiful day, but joy arises. Can you bring some moment to your minds where you have felt just grounded and whole and connected and at peace and just unasked for joy arises? That, I think, is the Sambhogakaya, the fruit, the bliss body of the Buddha Dharma. And it flows from our coming back to our breath and settling, from our connection to the Dharmakaya, seeing how a Buddha sees. But it's right as we're walking around greeting people, and we affect people by how we are when we're grounded and perhaps feel this joy. And the cool thing is you can feel it even in the midst of horrible situations. And I'm going to share with you an extreme example of a horrible situation where I think this person was very connected to seeing how a Buddha sees and was experiencing this bliss body, and then how he acted in the world as his own historical person. So we'll get, that's the Nirmanakaya, right? It's from this book. Oh, you can't see it in there very well. And There Was Light. It's a memoir of a blind hero of the French resistance in World War II. I might have read from it in the past, but I'm going to read a certain section. The guy's name is Jacques Lucerian, and he became blind at 8 years old, and he had an experience of light. He was blind, right? But he could experience light. He could see trees. He could feel the energy. He saw light. He found that seeing that light did get it would darken down when fear overcame him. So coming back, always our coming back in the midst of fear to this ground, this Dharmakaya, this seeing how a Buddha sees is really important. So he became, as a 19-year-old, involved in the French resistance at World War II, and then very involved in putting out of course, illegal newspaper in France. And when he was around 21, he got arrested by the Gestapo and put into a concentration camp. He was in Buchenwald. And I may go slightly over, but I am going to read you this a little. I'm excerpting, I'm not reading it all. Now, he's not going to talk about the Dharmakaya, about how Buddha sees, because he's a Catholic. So there's going to be some Catholic words. I'm sorry, but we'll just translate, okay? He says, well, he got really sick. People in Buchenwald, the other inmates, they were stealing his food, being rude to him, pushing him, messing with him. And he got very sick and went to the infirmary where he was about to die. Everybody goes to the infirmary to die in the concentration camp. They don't come out. Well, he says, this is his memoir of that experience. Sickness had rescued me from fear. It had even rescued me from death. Let me say to you simply that without it, I never would have survived. From the first moments of sickness, I had gone off into another world, quite consciously. That's important. I was not delirious. So he had been able maybe to just give himself over, give over his fears, and just release into a larger sense of being. He says, I watched the stages of my own illness quite clearly. I saw the organs of my body blocked up or losing control, one after the other. I knew exactly what it was, this thing I was watching. My body in the act of leaving this world. Not wanting to leave it right away, not even wanting to leave it at all. Have I said that death was already there? If I have, I was wrong. Sickness and pain, yes, but not death. Quite the opposite, life. And that was the unbelievable thing that had taken possession of me. I had never lived so fully before. Life had become a substance with me. I let myself float upon it. There were names which I mumbled from the depths of my astonishment. No doubt my lips did not speak them, but they had their own song, and these are the Christian ones. Providence, the guardian angel, Jesus Christ, God. I didn't turn it over in my mind. It was, I just drew strength from the spring. I kept on drinking and drinking still more. I was not going to leave that celestial stream. So I think he was really in a very profound state of having turned his whole being over to what's larger, and we might say to the Dharmakaya, to how a Buddha sees, to all the interrelationship of all the cosmos. And he felt this sort of bliss. It is true, I was quite unable to help myself. All of us are incapable of helping ourselves. He says, there was one battle I had to fight, hard and wonderful all at once, not to let my body be taken by fear. For fear kills and joy maintains life. And that's my sense that this was his experience of Sambhogakaya, of the joy, the bliss body, and it maintains life. Well, slowly I came back from the dead. I left on May 8th, I left the body on the hospital on my own 2 feet. I was nothing but skin and bones, but I had recovered. The fact was, I was so happy that now Buchenwald seemed to me a place which, if not welcome, was at least possible. If they didn't give me any bread to eat, I would feed on hope. In truth, I still had 11 months ahead of me in the camp. But today I have not a single evil memory of those 330 days of extreme wretchedness. I was carried by a hand. I was covered by a wing. I was free. This is so important because this gets into the Nirmanakaya, how we act in the world. We matter. You matter. What you do, your particular personality, your quirkiness, your weirdness, all of it, all of it, all your ups and downs. And he says, well, now I was free to help the others. Not always, not much, but in my own way, I could help. I could try to show other people how to go about holding on to life. I could turn toward them the flow of light and joy, which had grown so abundant in me. From that time on, they stopped stealing my bread and soup. It never happened again. Often my comrades would wake me up in the middle of the night and take me to comfort someone, sometimes a long way off in another block. Almost everyone forgot I was a student. I became the blind Frenchman. Just his particular body, his being, the blind Frenchman. For many, I was just the man who didn't die. Hundreds of people confided in me. The men were determined to talk to me. They spoke to me in French, in Russian, in German, in Polish. I did the best I could to understand them all. That is how I lived, how I survived. The rest I cannot describe. So that's how the whole of it interacts. I spent a long time on Dharmakaya, how a Buddha sees the world, how we can see it and know the true reality. And then the bliss, the joy that can arise, and it can come even in the midst of horrible things. And then you make a difference. Nirmanakaya, our historical being, right now, this body, and I do a lot of weird stuff, just ask Constance, she knows. And I talk too much. So I want to stop there. And thank you for listening to my talk. And I think I would like you to get in pairs for about 7 minutes. Find a pair. And online, oh God, you do it, right? Oh, good, I don't have to do it. Put people in pairs and
For
take,
how long?
well, a total of 7 minutes. I'd like to come back at, so not long, that's why pairs. And just anything that arose for you as I spoke. Any questions, any God, that's too crazy, or whatever it is. So please get in pairs.
One's on
And you call them back in 7 minutes?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
I don't join, right? I'm done. I don't touch this. What?
You can if you want.
No. Gather myself for service.
Sure. So the 7 minutes, I just different yeah. Close the lines. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Tell me.
Marianne, what's the question?
Anything that comes up
Oh, okay.
from the talk, anything, doesn't matter.
So the chapter 20. That was just, yeah, it is. So I read it because I have an easier time. It's always interesting to hear how other people interpret the same material. But that was a really simple, straightforward approach to life in general. It's of all the lists of lists in that book, lots of lists of things. But I sort of interpreted, I mean, the third one was, I believe, but the life of Shakyamuni Buddha, so it connects to the first one, which is Dharmakaya. And they all kind of interacted. And the chapter just, I couldn't tell you specifically what it said. Although I read it several times, but it made me feel hopeful, and it was very short and to the point and very satisfying to read.
I was thinking about it when I was going in the room and walking into the room.
I'm allergic to something. There's a bunch of
So I feel like yeah, she's doing something new. And she had an instant reaction. Suddenly she was, yeah, I how you prepare yourself something happening. So something happened first. Like, I mean, but over time, that kills your cravings.
Well, I got up around 5. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah, yesterday. It's pretty. It came out as a brown font.
All of us still want to eat. Practicing
It says 11:15.
Yeah. Is it about ready to call us back?
We could, you'd have quite a long time left.
I have 11:14.
Yeah, so that would give you 15 minutes.
Yeah, to do service. So take one more minute and close what you're saying. You have one more minute while we bring everybody back.